Hi, welcome back with Mr. Canada Maths, and today we're going to look at changing from fractions to percentages. There are two methods we can go from fractions to percents, and both we've done prior, except the only thing we have to do is we have to multiply by 100 at the end to get our percent. So, first example, we're going to look at, we're going to do case 1. Okay, so case 1, and this is where I'm going to start letting you just choose your cases that you'd like to do. I'm not going to do both all the time. So, we had 9 over 30, so we want to find an equivalent fraction. So, 9 over 30, so we want it over 10, 100, 1,000. Well, if you times by 3, we get 90, so that's not going to work really. And if you times by 100, we get 300, so that we've just made it bigger. So, if it doesn't work about getting bigger, don't forget, you can always make fractions smaller too, right? So here, we divide by, what are we going to divide by? 3. And divide by 3. This means we are going to have 3 over 10. And so we know that we can write that as 0.3. Because we can do 3, and we see divide by 10, so we move the decimal place once. That makes 0.3. So, last step we have to do, we have to go 0.3. And we times it by our 100. Right? So we times it by 100%. So we get 30 and percent. So keep in mind that 100% is 100 over 100, but it's not something you have to keep showing. So, same thing here. We have 9 over 30. So you can just treat it as divide. So once again, I would always pick case 1 if you can do it. But if you can't see it, don't spend the time trying to see if there's an equivalent fraction, because there might actually not be. So 30 can't fit into 9. So we put a decimal. But 30 can fit into 90. How many times? 3 times. So sometimes it's just as easy to do the division. Now we times it by 100. So 0.3. And this part is the same, right? Times by 100. So we get our 30%. So same result. Let's look at 110 over 990. Well, so first thing I'm going to do is just notice a little trick. Because regardless of the method I want to do, I want to make my life easier. So if I see a 0 in each, I'm just going to get rid of them and rewrite it as 11 over 99. Well, I also know that I can divide this by 11, make our lives even easier, right? Because I'd rather work with 1 over 9 and divide that than working with 110 into 990. So, now, how many times did 9 fit into 1? It can't. So, 0, decimal, and we can put the 10. 9 can fit into 10 once, 1 remainder. Can't go, so we can put a 1 or a 0. 9 fits into 10 once. And so we're going to see that it's just 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So enter 0.1 with the dot. And then don't forget, we have to times this by 100. So we actually get 11.1 repeating or recurring percentage. Typically with recurring ones, they'll always tell you round to 2 decimal places, round to 3 significant figures, etc. Now, 7 divided by 12. Well, I'm going to try something. Like I said, you can always try something. If it doesn't work, then you can go back and divide. So I know that I can get that over 60 by timesing by 5. So that means I'm going to have 35 over 60. And then, let's see, can I divide this by what? To get that over 10? I'd have to divide by 6, right? That doesn't look too nice. But let's see what this is going to mean. 35 over 6 divided by 10. So, it actually made it more complicated by doing this, right? So in that sense, don't try and divide this and then go and change it. Let's just go back to original and say scrap all of this nonsense, right? So 7, how many times does 12 fit into 7? It can't, but it can fit into 70. So 12 into 70 can fit, well, we just did 5 made 60. So we know it can fit 5 times. Then what are we left with? We're left with 10. Can't fit in, so we can add a 0 and move over 1. So 12 can go into 100. Well, 12 times 8 is 96. So with 8, 96. So we have a 4, left over. Can't do anything, so we can add a 0. 12 goes into 40 3 times. And what do we have? Then we have 4 left over. And this is going to keep going on. So now we're going to be left with 0.583 times that by 100. That's what some people forget, is when you're changing the percentage, don't forget to actually make it a percentage after doing all that work to get it to a decimal. Because the percentage part is easy. So 58.3% recurring. Okay, so here's a variety of ones for you to give a go. So pause the video now. Once you're ready, we'll go through the answers. Alright, welcome back. So let's go for the first couple. So a quarter, we know that that is 25%. We've worked with that one lots. 4 over 20 is the same as 1 over 5, right? Which is the same as 2 over 10, so we get 20%. 9 over 25, well, we can times top and bottom by 4, so we're going to get 36 over 100, or 36%. Because 36 over 100 is actually the definition of a percent, right? That way we can just pick out the top value. Keep in mind, we went the opposite way the very first video, where we did 36 over 100, and we got from 36 to 36% to that as a fraction, right? And the simplified, here we're just doing the reverse. So 27 over 72, I know those are in my 9 times table, so I can divide by 9, so I get 3/8, right? So sometimes actually by doing this, we can see it's going to help our next problem. So how are we going to finish this? Well, let's do 3 and divide by 8, right? 8 goes into 3, doesn't. But it goes into 30. How many times? 3 times. 6 remainder. Add a 0. 8 goes into 60. 7 times. And 4 remainder. And then 8 goes into 40 5 times. So then we can leave that as 37.5%. Then we know the next one is also 37.5%. 7 to 16. So we did this as an example, but I want to see you give it a go. So 16 into 70, that goes 4 times. I forgot the decimal. What am I left with? 4 remainder. So 16 goes into 40 twice, and 8 remainder. So 16 goes into 80 5 times, and we're done. So times by 100, and we're left with 42.5%. Moving on to 5/9. So 5, how many times does 9 fit into 50? Well, it can go in 5 times. It will be 5 remainder. How many times does 9 fit in 50? Well, it's right away, it gets a recurring decimal. So that's kind of nice. So that means we have 55.5 recurring percent. 6 into 16. Well, I see that I can simplify this a bit first, so let's do that. See what we get. So we get 3 into 8. Oh, lucky. We've already done that. So 37.5%. And lastly, 10 over 9. So how many times 9 go into 10? It goes once. We're left with 1. How many times can it go into 10? So 1.1, and it's just going to keep recurring. So we'll get 111.1%. And don't forget to have the recurring.